Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. Let's get into it. What is the Man United news now? Well, I'll tell you this. It's going off between Ruben Amorim and Gary Neville, also Roy Keane, and the mainstream. Man United being absolutely pelted because of the performance yesterday in the boring Manchester derby. Also, is Casemiro now staying? The latest on Sancho. Also a big week ahead for Manchester United. But so much to unpick from the game last night. Robotic. Players need selling. Embarrassing. Not good enough. You know, all this stuff going on. And I've got to say, you know what? I stick by what I said yesterday. I stick by what I said. I mean, that Casemiro foul by Kovacic in the box becomes more of a penalty than any penalty I've seen this weekend. I don't know why that didn't get mentioned. But let me just start off by saying this. I just do not get where all this... Look, officiating in this country seems to be protected by the mainstream. Yesterday, it felt like it's a 0-0 draw between Man City, who are 5th, and Man United, who are 13th. But let's pile on to Manchester United. And what irritated me from certain United fans and certain ex-players and the media was how Man United got piled on, and yet we spent next to nothing in January and we're 13th. And yet Man City, who everybody's been licking the arse of Pep Guardiola for a decade, spent £150 million in January and are absolutely shite. But it's always Manchester United that people fly into. And there's a few things I want to unpick, because obviously Ruben Amorim was asked after the game about Gary Neville's criticism and basically said, you know, he's always negative. But I felt like yesterday's negativity from the mainstream, but also from some of our fans, was incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, I look at that game this morning and I go, we defended well, we created lots of chances, and we've got a big game on Thursday. I actually think yesterday was one of our better performances at home this season. I mean, where was everybody for Bournemouth? Where was everybody for Palace? You know, where was everyone for Brighton when we got beaten at Old Trafford and absolutely took apart? And yet we're now saying, oh, yeah, that's just boring. That's just not good enough. I don't know what the expectations are of these people, because we are terrible this season, and yesterday's performance was actually one of our better ones. And ultimately, Ruben Amorim is doing this with Erik ten Hag's players. He hasn't even started his job yet. And we are improving. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. But sitting there on mainstream TV and going after Man United, I agree with Amorim. It's like, what are they moaning about? Maybe unpick Man City, because Pep's been building that team for years and it's falling apart. What are you talking about me and my team for? We're shit. We can't do anything till the summer, and we're working towards a game on Thursday, and we actually did okay. What are you having a pop at us for? And it just felt really scripted. It felt really boring. It felt really repetitive. I know Man United need to buy a lot of players. I know Man United aren't very good. But the way we got dismantled after the game yesterday by the media was just weird. Oh, Man United are boring. You know, games aren't like this anymore. And you know what? Actually, one thing I did agree with Gary Neville on, and I have to say this, the congratulations and hugs I'm seeing shown at by both teams that they're happy with a 0-0 draw. The best teams in Manchester United and Man City would be very disappointed at the end of this game, given the way they approached it. It was robotic. It wasn't good enough, and I'm disappointed. It's a Manchester derby, and there should be more blood and risk than this. I agree with Gary Neville on that. As a derby, that was a boring game. As a Man United fan, it was one of our better performances of the season in a bad season. Our responsibility is not to cater to Gary Neville, Roy Keane, and the rest of the world. We are a club in crisis. We have been bloody dreadful this season, and Manchester derby or not, that's about as good as you're going to get from United. And I actually think going into a big game against Lyon, I was reasonably okay with the performance. It is not our job to go gung-ho and, you know, start getting players sent off just so Gary Neville can go, oh, I like this, we're Manchester United. And can I also say, the hypocrisy is staring people in the face. I don't like the fact that players are in the tunnel shaking hands anymore. I don't like the fact that players are on the pitch hugging each other and everything like that. But this is the monster that the Premier League have created. You've got Man United fans being targeted and, slated this morning because they were chanting a song at Phil Foden. But then you've got Gary Neville saying he wants the blood and fire of a derby. You can't have both. You can't have both. You can't have fans singing songs at Foden, being ridiculed and probably going to face bans or something stupid like that, and then say, I want passion and fire in a derby. You can't. You've diluted football, and you media outlets have played into the hands. If Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira did what they did in the tunnel at Highbury now, they'd get a 6-month ban. Tell me I'm wrong. Football has been diluted. You're not going to get fire and blood in a derby anymore. You're going to get more and more hugs after the game, more and more hugs in the tunnel, because they've desensitised football. There is no aggression. There is no... It's all gone. The game is gone in that sense. I saw it the day that Thomas Tuchel and Conte in a Chelsea Spurs game shook hands a little bit too firmly and got a match ban. Don't start talking about, where's the blood and fire in a Manchester derby when the Premier League and the media and everybody else has basically diluted football over the last 10 years. You can't have it anymore. You're not allowed to tackle. You're not allowed to shoulder barge. You're not allowed to push. You're not allowed to grab someone's shirt. You're not allowed to shout at the referee. You're not allowed to do any of that anymore. You're not even allowed to chant at a player as he walks off now. Oh, that's not fair. I mean, look, honestly, I've seen the chants of the Man United fans, and I've seen this all my life. And fine, ban them. Stop them doing that. Don't let football fans sing songs about rival players. Let's take that out of football as well. And then it really will be robotic. So, you know what? I just felt after the game yesterday, there was a lot of moaning about stuff we already knew. It's like I don't massively like Easter. I find the Easter eggs a bit boring. It's just a crap Christmas. It's just not that good. But when Easter hits in a couple of weeks, I'm not going to go, oh my God, I bloody hate Easter, because I won't be surprised. I've lived plenty of Easters. I know Easter's not my favourite, holiday. But that's what it felt like after the game yesterday. We are rubbish this season. We are absolutely rubbish. We've lost home games to people like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. We drew against Man City. And we actually created chances and we actually defended well. Rubbish. They're rubbish. They're so robotic. They're rubbish. They're all hugging after the game. Look at them hugging after the game. Look at this. Look at the United fans singing songs about Phil Foden. That shouldn't be going on. Where's the passion, though? Where's the passion? I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it. You're moaning about stuff we already know. The game's gone. The passion's gone. One of my favourite memories was Arsenal-Man United's rivalry in the late 90s. It couldn't exist today. It couldn't exist today. Players would be sent off before they even got on the pitch. They've took that out of the game. So don't start moaning about players shaking hands before the game and hugging each other. I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but I'm not the one who changed the rules. Those pundits can't sit there moaning about it when they have been protecting the people in power for years. And I've heard them there going, you can't do that. Yeah, you can't put hands on another player. You can't do that. And then they want them to... Where's the blood and passion coming from if you're not going to allow people to tackle? You're not going to allow people to, get in each other's face. You're not going to get it back. So I think that's a complete and utter nonsense argument that, I don't want to see people, the passion's gone out of football. It has become very mercenary because that's the way the Premier League have made it. And this morning in the UK... They're going after United fans for singing songs at Phil Foden, and that's what Pep was talking about. Really, the question should have been, Pep, okay, all right, fans singing songs about Phil Foden, it's not great, but how's about your team's fucking shit, mate? How's about you spent £150 million in January and you're terrible? How's about, you're meant to be the best manager in the world and your team's shit? No, I want to talk about Phil Foden being sang about. Yeah, of course you bloody do. Of course you do. Anyway, back to Manchester United. Look, ultimately... I don't get it. Deal with our own problems. I don't get it. I don't get what the moaning is about our performance yesterday. I really don't. I can see United fans going, boring. Oh, it's so boring. Oh, is it really boring? Is it boring, is it? Okay, have you not looked at the league table? Have you not looked that we lost against Forest last week? Have you not looked at how many home games we played shit this season? And now you're bored with an effective result ahead of a massive game on Thursday. You're bored with the fact that we never looked like conceding and we should have finished some of our chances. That's boring, is it? Okay. So at what point did your brain start to think that we were going to play liquid football yesterday and beat Man City 3 or 4-0? Like, I don't see a problem with our performance yesterday. I really don't. I think it's naivety falling into the trap the media have set for you by going, what a boring game. It's not our job to entertain the rest of the world. It's our job to improve gradually with a team that doesn't suit our manager. He hasn't bought these players. They're not his team. The only players he's bought is a 20-year-old from Italy who's only been here 2 months. His job is to prepare us for the Europa League and try and get results with what he's got. And I think to that end, we were the better team. We didn't look like conceding, and we actually created a few penalty box chances. I would have took that before kick-off. Our job is not to entertain the masses. Our job is to try and survive, and that is what we're trying to do. I think that listening to some of the criticism yesterday, I get Amorim's frustration. I absolutely do. I think he's right to say, Gary Neville's always negative. I think he's absolutely right to do that. I mean, I think, some of the stuff that came out was just ridiculous as well. I think Neville said something like the front five aren't good enough. And started talking about people like Rashford. I mean, look, this one really caught my eye. I don't even... Why is this coming out after a game? He said, you could field 4 players that are not at Man United anymore. Alanga, Rashford, Welbeck and McTominay behind them. They would do a lot better than the current players as a front 4. Man United have let players go, and I'm not saying that they're the solution right now, but they've replaced them with players who weren't at the standard, with players who are not at that level. I mean, what is that even? If that's not playing to the Player FC masses, I've never heard such rubbish in all my life. What are you talking about Danny Welbeck for? He left 10 years ago, mate. Like, what has Danny Welbeck got to do with anything? What's that got to do with Amorim? What has that got to do with drawing in the Manchester derby? And what has that got to do with trying to be positive ahead of a massive game on Thursday? Danny bloody Welbeck. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Danny Welbeck? I'd take Danny Welbeck at United now, but you can't talk about replacing Danny Welbeck. It was 10 years ago. Anthony Alanga, when we let him go, was not the player he is now. It's arrogant, Gary. You can't say that we've replaced players that are better than what we've got now. Alanga wasn't that good at United because he needed development, and we would not have given it him. Look at how Dorgu's getting criticised yesterday. Alanga was getting that for the 6 months before we got rid of him. He was given chances by Ten Hag, and fans didn't take to him. And he needed to go somewhere and develop in an environment where they would develop him. He was not going to get that. So why are you talking about Alanga? Why are you talking about Welbeck from 10 years ago? Rashford? Well, the manager said Rashford wasn't trying in training, Gary. So how was he going to be better? And as for McTominay, well, look, McTominay has gone to Napoli and done well. Ten Hag didn't want to sell him. Ineos did. The guy that you sit and do interviews with did. The guy that you're doing a regeneration with did. The manager didn't want to let McTominay go. But Ineos did. So what are you talking about, Welbeck, Alanga? You're almost acting like you're bloody Piers Morgan. I'd expect that on Talk Shit. What are you talking about? That's just sensation. I don't mind having a conversation about that. I mean, Gary won't do it. Obviously, I'd love to have the conversation, but I don't mind having a conversation about stuff that's valid. But we've just drawn a game in the Manchester derby that we should have won. When we've lost so many games this season, we're in the bottom half of the table. That's not a bad result. And it's not a bad performance ahead of a big game on Thursday. But then after the game, they're getting absolute pelters from ex-legends who know the pressures of playing for Man United and know Thursday's a big game and also know a bit of positivity into that dressing room might prepare them better for Thursday. They're going to hear all this crap and it's going to bother them because we know this team is quite weak mentally and they're going to read all this that they're not good enough and, and all these players are not good enough. And I'm sort of like, hold on a minute. How does that help Man United this week? How are you helping Man United this week? And why is there such a dissection of a performance that wasn't that bad? But you've got to call it out. Why is he talking about Alanga, Rashford, Welbeck and McTominay? McTominay was sold by Ineos. Ten Hag wanted to keep him. Alanga wasn't the player he was and has been developed by Forest and himself. It's arrogant to say that he'd be good at Man United because he's worked hard and been developed by another club. Rashford apparently wouldn't train hard and we had to get rid of him, and now he's playing hard for Villa but wasn't playing for us. And Welbeck was sold 10 years ago. What are you actually talking about? It's a poor argument, in my opinion. It is a poor argument. Where I do agree with him is that, you know, we need to improve our attack. But we can't do that in April, and we certainly can't do it ahead of Lyon. I think, as I said, some of this criticism is unfair. It's unfair on the manager and it's unfair on the players because the situation is what it is. And I don't get it. I don't get the purpose of it. It feels like moaning for moaning's sake. What are you moaning about? Oh, Man United need more players. Man United have made mistakes in the past. We know. The January transfer window is shut and the summer transfer window doesn't open for another 2 months. And we've got big games coming up now. Like, what are you going to do on Sunday when we get beat by Newcastle, which we will? Oh, it's terrible. Sack the man. People, this is where I think it needs discussing because this is where it's going to head. If we're moaning and ranting about drawing against Man City in a game we should have won, is it just setting us up, the media script, the cycle for the Newcastle loss where you go, he's got to go? This is what worries me, and this is why I'm saying it. I'm stunned by the reaction by some of the media and some of our fans to a good draw and a good performance, contextually. And I'm like, why are they doing this? And I'm like, oh, is it just being teed up for a bigger loss where they go, he's got to go? And it worries me because it's not the manager's fault. It's not the manager's fault. And he's right to come out and say something about it. Hitton says, youth takes time, support them, press the seniors. John says they're starting to lay the foundation for sacking our manager. John, you know what? This is why this community is so good, because you go live with things you want to talk about and then you find solutions. And I think you're absolutely spot on, John. I think you've always got to find the reason. And I thought after the game yesterday, I don't normally watch stuff after the game, but I just had, it was like 7 o'clock. I wasn't doing an 8 o'clock show. Had the fan forum on, had the TV on. Had a bite to eat, and I was stunned by the lack of Man City analysis, who are in a top 5 race. Like, Man City have got jeopardy, and they're focusing on Man United, who are 13th, with a manager that hasn't had a transfer window and players that clearly aren't good enough, and they wouldn't shut up about Man United. And I thought, hold on a minute, what's the angle here? We've got a big game on Thursday. Man City haven't. Man City are out of Europe. You should be talking about how shit Man City are. No, let's go in on Man United. And I think John's right. I think they're laying the foundation. To go after the manager. Happy birthday, Mark. We were the better team yesterday. Just didn't create our chances yet again, says Liam. Yeah, thanks everybody for all the birthday tips yesterday, by the way. I've got about 30 quid. So that's going to be a good few pints. So thank you very much, Liam. Appreciate that. Youth takes time. It's never about me. That's why I never said anything at the start of the show. But I think some people have realised. Youth take time, support them, says Hitton. John says, what he's meant to do, we sacked a manager this season already. Sack another and repeat, says John. For our fans wanting sub-25 signings versus experienced 6-time winners, City struggled versus us at 13th because of a lack of leaders. What do you think happens to us, says Hitton. We're bored by the fact that Wolves score more goals, says Constantine. Yeah, but Constantine, I'm not dismissing the fact that Man United don't score goals, but what do you want to do in April and who are you blaming? If the players aren't good enough, what's the point in going on about the players? Why would you blame the manager? You know what? This is what I mean. It's moaning for moaning's sake, and it irritates me. I don't understand people who moan without solutions. If the players aren't good enough, we've known that, and we can't do anything till the summer. So why keep moaning about it? If you think the manager needs to go, you're a bloody idiot, but say it. Or is it the people in charge? In which case, maybe you should be talking about them. Or are you just moaning because you want to moan? And my point is, big game on Thursday, we go with what we've got. Surely, if you're a Man United fan, the logical thing to do is go, yeah, it wasn't a great game, but we defended well. We created chances. We're not playing bloody PSG. We're playing Lyon. We're not going to be playing Barcelona in the semi-finals. We're probably going to be playing Athletic Bilbao. and we're not going to play Bayern Munich in the final. It's probably going to be Eintracht Frankfurt or Spurs, and they aren't Arsenal either. So I think we're going to win the Europa League. Hold on a minute. That's a bit positive. If we win the Europa League, we're in the Champions League. More money. Success. Yeah, I think we could be on the brink of success. So why are people moaning? Why are people trying to ruin it? Why are people piling on pressure and negativity to our manager? I don't get it. I don't get how you watch that game yesterday and at the end of it go, you know what? I'm just going to unload on Amorim, the players and the club. We didn't bloody lose. And we've played a hell of a lot worse this season. And as preparation for Lyon, I saw a lot of positives. Look, De Ligt is one of our best players. He's injured. Maguire came in. Yoro played well. Mazraoui played well. That wasn't a problem then, was it? Casemiro is having a bit of a, renaissance. That's not a problem then, is it? Bruno's playing well. Garnacho was better than he was on Tuesday night. Dorgu's progressing well. Dalot was better. We drew a game we should have won. And that's even without talking about the officiating. And many people said to me last night, you're talking out your arse that we were robbed. Diaz should have been sent off. I still think Garnacho's could have been a penalty. And I tell you what, I'd completely missed it. Casemiro's is a penalty. When you watch it from the right angle, Kovacic kicks his foot. He doesn't kick the ball. Penalty. So we should have won the game. I'm not bothered that we didn't win the game. I was bothered yesterday. It doesn't really matter. The performance matters. The performance wasn't bad. And why are people piling in on it? Patrick Lynch says Fergie and Wenger hated each other. The rivalry this decade was Klopp and Pep, and all they did was hug and compliment one another. It's so contradictory. The media and the Premier League have created this weak rivalry Premier League. Don't sit there on national TV going, I don't like the way they hug each other. As fans, we can moan about it because we've lost the identity of our game. But the media have fed into it. I remember the day Tuchel and Conte shook hands firmly and the pundits on TV were like, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. They deserve a ban. They got a ban. You've just killed the game, mate. If referees can't even shake hands firmly without a match ban, what blood and fire do you want? Again, it's just moaning for moaning's sake when the media have contributed to the dilution of the game. As I said at the start of the show, Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira in the tunnel is rivalry in a bottle. They didn't even lay hands on each other. They just argued with each other. If you did that now, they'd get a 5-match ban. So you can't have it because you have created this world where they don't even want fans chanting stuff about players now. No, you can't be racist. You can't be homophobic. Of course you can't. But it's getting to the point now where I don't think in 10 years' time you'll even be able to call a player shit. You won't even be able to chant a rival player is shit because that's what they're doing. They're just gradually making the game robotic. And, if that's what they want, fine. But that's what you're going to end up with. Marlow FC says Foden was player of the year. Now people are saying that he can't shoot, dribble or pass. The same is said about Garnacho. I fear that United isn't the best place to develop. But do you think Garnacho has a higher ceiling as Foden? No, I don't. I think Garnacho improved on his Forest performance, and I think Amorim has communicated that, as I'll speak about in a moment. Did Gary forget how well he did at Valencia? Says love-hate games. Jahid says, Garnacho. Look, I think Gary Neville made some good points, but I don't get the negativity from Gary Neville, Roy Keane, and all the Sky pundits and other people, and even some United fans. I don't get it. Because I think you're moaning about something for moaning's sake. Like, we're 13th in the league, got a bigger game on Thursday. We defended well, we created chances. We do need to make a lot of changes. This is Ten Hag's team, it's not Amorim's. Contextually, yesterday, from a Man United performance, wasn't bad. So why are we getting lost in derbies being boring and this, that and the other? It's got nothing to do with us. We are not where we need to be, and we do need a lot of players, and some of our players aren't good enough. But moaning about it like they did last night just felt weird, and maybe it is setting some bigger picture up. When Garnacho's selfish, they moan. When he creates chances, they moan. What's he supposed to do? Also, so much unnecessary Xerxes hate is crazy. They're young, says Jahid. Grade the dickhead referee, says Shirin. Jason says Neville wasn't just talking about Man United. He was saying the Premier League has become boring to watch, and he's right, says Jason. But look, exactly. I agreed with you, Jason. I said that at the start. I do agree. I said that. I agree with that statement. But, and maybe Gary Neville's not responsible for this. I know he works for the media. But what I'm saying is, yes, I've been on about this for a long time. The Premier League has become very robotic. It's all about system. It's not about individuality. The Premier League has become very huggy, shake hands after the game, let's go for a meal together. They're all mates. But that's because that's what the Premier League have created. They've diluted it. They've done it. They've made the Premier League what it is. You know, you can't put a tackle in anymore. You can't argue with anybody on the touchline anymore. It's like they've made football robotic. I've been saying it for years. Footballers aren't robots. Sometimes they'll lose their temper and they'll push someone to the ground. Red card, you're banned. You know, sometimes they'll argue with the manager on the touchline. Sometimes they'll throw the ball away. Your red card. You can't have passion in any game now, let alone a derby, because the Premier League have made it robotic and the media have worked with the Premier League to do it. How many times have you seen a ridiculous red card or a ridiculous yellow card and the pundit on the telly goes, referee's done a good job? They're all in it together. And then now what they're realising is they've created a monster. But they created it. If I was in charge of the Premier League, I would not allow some of the things to have happened. I don't give a shit about players arguing in the tunnel. I don't give a shit about two managers shaking hands firmly. If they not throw punches, you're banned. But I don't care about that. I don't care about a little bit of pushing and shoving. I don't care about it. Because you know what? In the real world, we've got a massive knife crime problem in youth in the UK. Like, people are doing more than pushing each other. They're doing more than, shouting at each other. And that reflects the real world. And football's living in this bloody bubble of you can't shake hands too firmly. You can't start pushing each other. Oh, you can't you can't throw the ball away. They've created this utopian bullshit. And now the game is suffering because of it. And now football fans are losing. Gary Neville is right. Football has become robotic. There is no passion. But he works for an organisation that's fed it. They've fed this. Demand respect, but don't earn respect. It's the same with the PGMOL. It's nothing to do with United. It's a bigger picture. But it was thrown in at the same time. Most teams tried to play like Man City and that made it boring. The English media were loving Man City for years, saying Pep best ever. I watched a lot of football this weekend, Dazzo. The best two games I watched were Brighton Palace, which I didn't watch all of it to be honest, and Villa Forest. It was a brilliant game. It was open, it was end-to-end, and it was a brilliant, brilliant game with loads of chances. I watched Man United, Man City, and I watched Arsenal, Everton, and they were both shit because there were two systems that cancelled each other out with no individuality. Football needs to change. Of course it does. Amorim has to cut his cloth accordingly. He has a squad so short of quality, especially in attacking areas, so he's very limited in what he can do, says Ian Tracy. Shouldn't we be defending well, playing a back seven, says Robert McCormack. But Robert, we get on. We've had a pint together, etc. But again, I agree with you. We did play a back seven, and if we were fourth in the league and we did that, I'd be fuming. We're 13th in the league. We've got a massive game on Thursday. We've been beaten at home by Palace and Bournemouth and Brighton. We're playing Manchester City, who are better than us, who are a juggernaut of the last decade, who've got better players than us, who've got the best manager in the world, and we've got a big game on Thursday, and we've got no Dillit, and he plays a back seven. It's defensive. And yet, Man City created next to nothing, and we created about 5 penalty box chances. So, it's contextual. For where we are at the moment, that's one of our better performances at home. Is it where I want to be? No. But these are not his players. This is not his team. So, this is what I mean. It felt like moaning for moaning's sake. Oh, we're playing a back seven against Man City at home. He hasn't had a bloody transfer window. What would you do? What would I do? With a team that's not mine, against the team that is Pep's, before a big game against Lyon, I am not opening up the shop. I am not going for it. Because I tell you what, The flip side, I don't think there's a headline Amorim can win, because we should have won the game yesterday, but we didn't. Draw the game, criticised. Lose the game, he's just naive. You don't do that against Man City. You don't open up the door against Man City. You can't win. You can't win in that situation. And that's why I'll call it out, because I think sometimes moaning is just for moaning's sake. And I'm a moaner, but I'll moan when I feel it's justified. And in this, I just don't think it's justified. And I don't think it helps that the players this morning will wake up and be reading the negativity when actually, contextually, Garnacho was way better than he was against Forest. Dalot was way better than he has been all season. Mazraoui was brilliant. Maguire came in for De Ligt and did well. Yoro showed really good quality. Dorgu is settling in nicely. Casemiro has found form. Bruno was really good. Obviously, the strikers got no service and didn't play well, but what's new there? And yet they're going to wake up this morning to we're all shit. And how does that help us ahead of a big game on Thursday? Happy birthday, Mark, says Joseph. Thank you very much. Big Z says, have you watched Adolescence as a father with a son? It's a must-watch with the wife. Incredible show, acting, very thought-provoking. I think he's taking the piss. Samuel says, I agree with Neville that we need new front three plus new wing-backs for Amorim's system to work, which contradicted his own statement why we don't win, says Sanil. There's no point about talking about the summer. I mean, I have got that quote, and I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't necessarily disagree with this as well. He basically said that, what did he say? I've got it down somewhere. The players up front just don't have the quality the club requires. It sounds very harsh, but it's the truth. We're going to have to recruit intelligently. That is, sell players at a good price and sign undervalued players, which is what every team tries to do in this league. You can field 4 players who are no longer at Man United, and they would do a lot better than the current players. They replaced them with players who weren't up to scratch. I mean, that's the incredible Elanga, Rashford, Welbeck, McTominay thing. I mean, I don't even replace. Welbeck was a bench player 10 years ago. What's that got to do with anything? Ineos, your mates, Gary, wanted to sell McTominay. Rashford wouldn't perform in training and hasn't been replaced. I mean, how he hasn't figured that one out. We didn't replace Rashford, so that's not even true. Yeah, it's wild, that is. I think he's just thought that in his head and not thought it through. But look, there's a contradiction there anyway. The players up front just don't have the quality the club requires. Look at the last 10 years, mate. We're not the Man United you used to play for. And then he goes on to say that we need to recruit intelligently. We need to sell players at a good price and sign undervalued players. Yeah, mate, can you go and get me those magic beans as well? Because I want to go and visit the Giants in Neverland. So we need to sell the bad players at a good price. Never going to happen. And then we need to replace them with undervalued good players. Bloody hell. Oh, so the reason we're shit, Gary, you've just explained it. So you're moaning about us not being very good and that we need to replace the players aren't good enough. But to do that, we need to sell the players that aren't good enough for a good price and buy better players for a low price. And this takes me back to what I mean. I agree with you, Gary, but the moaning about it, how does this help? You're just chucking petrol on a fire. The players aren't good enough, yes. Let's sell them for a good price and replace them with better players who are cheap. Never going to happen. So we're stuck with players who aren't good enough. Yeah. And you're moaning about it. Yeah. So the cycle continues. The reason we're in this position is because we're run badly. And we're still being run badly. What we need to do is bring in Cunha, Gyökeres, Frimpong, Ederson, Costa. 5 players, improvers overnight. We can't afford it. I know. So what are we going to bring in? Players that aren't good enough. And are we going to be here again next year? Yeah. We are what we are. I know the solution. The solution was to get rid of the Glazers and get rid of the debt and start investing in the team. We're not going to do that. So we're moaning for nothing. We are what we are. And contextually, that result yesterday was actually about as good as it's going to get with what we are. We're not good enough to open up the shop and go toe-to-toe with Man City and play them off the park because we don't have the clientele to do it. And we're not going to, are we? The club's a shithouse and we need to stop blaming managers and players and look a little bit higher. Most teams try to play like Man City, done that from Dazzo. Okay, let's have a little bit of a chat about some topical stuff as well, and we'll bring in some of your stuff. How you doing, Mark? I'm getting better. I've got to go to bloody London today. I'm on Baller League. That's football this afternoon. I'm all right. I'm just, you know. Dunny says, I'm on the hype train with you about the Europa. Mate, we're going to win the Europa League. We're going to win the Europa League, and we're going to win the Europa League until we don't win the Europa League. But I said it in January. I'm not going to change. You can get on the hype train or not. I just did a video with Robbie this morning. I think it's going out later. He was asking me about the Europa League and Lyon. I said, we're going to win it, right? Because as bad as we are, we've just played against Man City, defended well, and created chances. Lyon are not PSG. Athletic Club are not Barcelona. Eintracht Frankfurt are not Bayern Munich. And Spurs ain't bloody Arsenal. They're the 4 best teams left in it. We might not be Liverpool, but we've still got good players, and we can still shut teams out, and we can still score goals. We've got as good a chance as any of them lot. We ain't that bad, and those opposition teams ain't the creme de la creme. This ain't the Champions League. This is the Poundland version, but you can get in the Champions League. And I'm going to stay positive until we are not in the Europa League. And that is what is annoying me a little bit. Well, not annoying me. I'm not annoyed. That is what's confusing me, is that there seems to be an anger, frustration, and impatience in our fan base when they can be a factor in the positivity. If you are a Man United fan, why would you be moaning this morning or last night? Why would you be moaning? What role do you think you're playing? A positive one or a negative one by moaning? You're negative, and yet you're meant to support Man United. I know as a Man United fan, I have a role in helping this team win the Europa League by being supportive and by being positive. And you also have a role in making this team fail by moaning about it and being negative. You might not like a certain player in that team at the moment. But if you go, I hope they do well, it's going to be far better than you're fucking shit, get out of my club. And there are people doing that because we've lost sight of supporting the team. And some people have become more about supporting themselves and being able to say, I told you so. And that's in the mainstream, and that's in the fan base as well. We have a role to play. Nothing wrong with being critical of performances, but we do have a role to play. And we need to get behind this team and believe in it. Even if you think they might let you down, which I do think they could let us down. But I believe they can beat Lyon. I believe they can win this tournament. And if we do, it's going to be an even better version of last season. And last season felt bloody good. It was horrible, but that FA Cup win at the end made me forget about all the shit and salvage something. And imagine winning the Europa League, holding up a trophy, knowing you're in the Champions League, and then looking at either Newcastle, Chelsea, Villa, and Man City, and knowing that 2 of those clubs aren't even in the Champions League next year. And they're way better than us. Bruno gets called a rodent every other game. We don't complain about it. So what are they on about, says David. Look, I'm not afraid about this. You know, I'll talk to any bloody mainstream outlet. I'll speak to Pep about it. Is it, I've seen the clips. Is it tasteful? Some of the stuff that was sang about Phil Foden yesterday? No. Should it be banned from football? No. That's controversial. Well, it's an opinion. I'm allowed to have one. Football is becoming soulless. Football is becoming pantomime. Football that I grew up with, going on the terraces and stuff, was a lot worse than that. It's escapism. It's rivalry. It's passionate. What do you want fans to do? Sit there like goldfish and do nothing? Like, of course it probably wasn't that enjoyable for Phil Foden, but if in his head he can't realise that this is a derby and that is rival fans trying to get under his skin, then he probably shouldn't be playing football. And as you say, Bruno gets called also. I saw somebody a few years ago do a video on Bruno doing a rat impression. Do you think Bruno Fernandes might have seen that? You know? So, look, would I be singing it? No. But this is the hypocrisy for me. I'm not condoning it, but you put 75,000 fans in a ground and then tell them what they can and can't do and see what you get with. Of course you shouldn't be singing certain things. But the reality is, people are moaning about why football has become robotic. And then they're making people be more and more they're telling people what they can and can't do more and more. Well, you're creating football. You're creating football chat GBT, aren't you? You're creating AI because you're just taking humans out of the game. Oh, Big Z still going on about Adolescence, saying it was an exceptional show. Mate, I think it's overrated. I'm quite bored of the Adolescence chat now. It was a half decent drama, overhyped by the fact that it was done on one camera. Don't they do that? Get yourself down London. They do it twice a day down the West End. Rob, Always United. I'll find you super chat. Thank you very much for that. Joseph, happy birthday. Says thank you very much. I've just got to find this. Right, let me talk to you about Casemiro. So Amorim has spoken about Casemiro after the game. I want to do a poll on this, actually. Would you keep Casemiro? Would you keep Casemiro next season? And I will tell you. Ian says, happy birthday, Mark. Keep up the good work. I hope for a good game and a win on Thursday. I'm excited about Thursday. Ineos need to start backing their best-in-class commitment. It's not hard for good businessmen to sign a top-tier front three to take the heat off Amorim. Yeah, you know what, though? Just on that, like, Gyökeres is apparently going to Arsenal. Got told that over the weekend. Let's see. Osimhen is apparently going to Saudi. So the two proven strikers that will improve this team are going to go to other clubs. After the game yesterday, we're not good enough. The players aren't good enough. You know, we need to get better players in. Two players that are better than what we've got, not coming. Where are we going to go? Delap, Jonathan David. Are Jonathan David and Liam Delap a massive upgrade on Rasmus, Obi and Xerxes? No. They might do better, but they're not a massive upgrade. So would we not be in the same position next year going, yeah, fair play to Liam Delap, but he ain't quite, he's not, you know, he ain't Gyökeres, is he? So we're not even planning. Again, it annoys me to hear some of the criticism after the game yesterday when we've already been told by our owners they're not bringing in the players that we need. You know, I don't want this to be about Gary Neville because Roy Keane was saying it and other people were saying it, but Gary's, you know, a very focal point of Man United and he's a huge personality around Man United. So I'm not just talking about him. But when he says the players aren't good enough and they need to get better players in, we know. But we're also being told by the club we're not getting them. So don't moan about the players. Don't moan about Amorim. Moan about the owners. They're already telling us we haven't got the money for the players that we need. So again, I'm looking at it after the game and I'm going, this is weird. Is there some sort of something else going on here? Gary, can we moan about the manager and the players a bit because we want the pressure off us? There's a bit of a protest going on. I know we need better players. I know that we need to bring better players in. But I also know we're not going to do it because the owners have already said they're not going to do it. So why are we moaning about it? Because maybe we're trying to shift the blame. Media and pundits affect some of the fan base. You wonder if we had Southgate as our manager, if the reaction would be the same. Highly doubt Neville and Keane would have piled on the manager, says the two pump. If you say Amorim out, you must say you want who you want in, says Orange. Are you saying these players don't deserve criticism? They're a disgrace, and I would say most of them do not give a single crap about Thursday, says David. No, that's not what I've said at all. I mean, I always criticise the players in the player ratings if they've not played well. But I don't... What do you want to do in April? The only people who can change the player profile is the owners, and they don't seem to want to do it. And also, what was disgraceful about the performance yesterday from the players? I think, you know, as I said, David, people are moaning for moaning's sake. It's a horrific season. I take it on board, but contextually, yesterday was a good performance. It wasn't a disgraceful performance. Man City were a lot worse than we were. Tracy says, happy birthday, have a great day. Thank you very much, Tracy. So let's talk about Casemiro. I'm still trying to find your super chat, Rob. I don't know what's going on here, actually. Hopefully it'll speed up a little bit now. So basically, Casemiro, he was talking about him a bit after the game yesterday, and basically saying that he's been delivering now when he wasn't delivering before. There's no doubt that Casemiro over the last 3 or 4 weeks has been... or last month or so has been very, very good. But I think that whether I'd keep him for another season would have to be no. Because I still think that Casemiro is a player that I really like. And I've sort of been working through my head in the last 12 months why he's fell off. And I don't think he's fell off through a lack of application. I don't think he's fell off because he ain't trying. I think he's fell off because he's slowed down. He's not the player he was. Like, it's a physical thing. So I would still be moving him on in the summer because that's not going to change. Like, I think some players can drop off for a year in their mid-20s and then bounce back. But I think Casemiro's dropped off because of age. I don't think he's dropped off for anything else. He is doing a job for us at the moment, and hopefully that can continue till the summer. But I wouldn't keep him for another year. No, I wouldn't. But what I will say is what I said to you a couple of weeks ago in the international break. I expect him to be here next year because he's settled, he's happy, and he's on 350 grand a week with another year on his contract. And I don't think he'll go. So I think Casemiro will be here next year. But I said that to you 2 weeks ago before he'd put in a good performance yesterday anyway. Neville named Bruno man of the match in the game that included Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne, and yet he wants to replace him with McTominay and Welbeck. Make it make sense, says Ollie Phillips. Mark, would love to see you do the chicken shop challenge with Robbie and the evil volcano sauce and Ty waffling on. Grampy yesterday, more boring, to be honest, says Simon. Thank you very much, Simon. Tobias says, I think we can keep him if he agrees Evans' contract. If not, get him and his wages away. Says Tobias. But look, the wages are a massive thing as well. 350k a week to do a job. I'd never even thought of it like that. You can't keep a 350 grand a week player for a year just to be a bit of a fill-in in the midfield, can you? I'd never even thought of that. 3 times this season, an Amorim team outperformed Pep, says Mario. Kazit says, Marcus Rashford 40 million, Sancho 25, Anthony 25, Garnacho 40 equals 130 million. By Jokeres 60, Cunha 60, and Mbumo 55 equals 175. Look, mate, you've done really good maths there, but you've also forgotten we owe 90 million in transfers already. We're going to have to pay 30, 40, 50 million on debt interest. So you've got to find 140 million straight away. And if we don't win the Europa League, we're 100 million down as well. So I get it. I appreciate it. But I think we've sort of moved past being able to do that anymore. We can't just generate money and spend money because that's just not how it's going to work. But it doesn't mean it's not possible to bring those players in, but it's impossible to speculate how we can spend money and generate money because there's just so much going on, isn't there? In relation to Jadon Sancho, I've seen the Fabrizio Romano update saying that Chelsea will make their decision in May. It's not really an update. They'll either give us 25 million or they'll give us 5 million and send him back. I think if they send him back, we'll send him out somewhere else. It's just more work for us, which I'd rather we didn't have to do. But of course Chelsea are going to wait till May because if Chelsea get in the Champions League, they might fancy something better or they might fancy Sancho if he's played well. I watched him play on Thursday and he got subbed off. He did okay. But I don't think there's much appetite for Chelsea to take him, and I don't think they will get him, if I'm being honest. Would you keep Casemiro next season? 24% say yes, 76% say no. Probably a little bit high, but probably because of what I just said about the wages there. I think that would be probably the biggest thing going on. But look, it's a big week for Man United, and I do genuinely feel like some of it is, a little bit unfair. A lot unfair, actually. And the overarching reason for talking about it is because I just feel like we have a part to play. For years, people have said, fan content, people moaning, it's toxic. I don't necessarily firmly believe that, but it probably has a bit of a role. Well, if you flip that the other way, well, being positive has an impact on the club as well, doesn't it? And it's all right. It's toxic when people want it to be toxic. But then when you want to be positive, oh, no. It's like I've personally had it where apparently I've hated on players. Well, I don't hate anybody. And then them same people having a pop at me literally put tweets out saying they hate Garnacho. I'm like, hold on a minute. So I never said I hated Rashford, but I'm a hater. You're actually tweeting stuff that you hate Garnacho. And this is what I mean. It's like, Rice says, what about toxic positivity? Well, toxic positivity is something very different. Toxic positivity is getting hyped and excited over something that's not a reality. But we didn't lose to Man City yesterday. We didn't look like losing to Man City yesterday, and we created chances against Man City yesterday. And it's a fact that that's one of our best performances at home this season. And it's a fact that we know we need to replace players, but we can't. And it's a fact that it's not Amorim's team. So it's not toxic positivity to say we should take that and get excited about Thursday and get behind the team. That's not toxic positivity. I'm not pissed on bloody fakeness. I'm reading out facts. And the people who are moaning about yesterday, well, wasn't a bad performance. Contextually, it wasn't. And we do need to get players. Well done. We've been on about it for bloody months. The scary thing for me is I think that maybe there is an ulterior motive, certainly from the media. Because I think we're going to lose against Newcastle next Sunday. They're a good team. It's at their place. It's going to be sandwiched in between Lyon, and Lyon's the focus. So I think we'll get beat next Sunday. What's the reaction then going to be? So we get a good result in France. We've got to follow it up at Old Trafford. We go to St James's Park. We get beat. What's the media going to do then? Amorim out? Oh, that's going to be great preparation for the Thursday game. I don't like. Everybody knows the Europa League is the priority. And yet now, if we don't win a Premier League game, it's the end of the world. Weird. Would you rather Chelsea buy Sancho or we sell him, says Harvey? I'd rather Chelsea got rid of him because it's less work for us. Robert says he takes off Agate a lot, doesn't he? Look, I think there's an agenda against Agate, Robert. And I think it's a little bit like I told you so. People jumped on Agate at the start of the season when he wasn't match fit. He played really well for about 3 months. And at the moment, he's had a bad month. The people who were on him at the start are going, I told you so, he's fucking shit. And the people who are, reasonable and realistic are going, look, he's not playing very well at the moment. And he didn't start off very well, but he did well in between, and it's his first season. But again, it's this impatience, and I told you so agenda where certain people just want to be, I told you so, he's fucking shit. How does that help Man United? It doesn't. It doesn't, does it? Take care, everyone. Speak to you all in a bit. Stay safe. We're back at 2. We're back at 8. And I'm on Baller League from 5 on That's Football. So join me for that, which basically just ends up with me being live for 5 hours, doing a bit of a Q&A. And, yeah, join me on That's Football. We're also going over to Terry's channel now because he has a show on a Monday morning called Straight Facts where they talk about stuff from the weekend. So the bad officiating, PGMOL, Phil Foden's fall off, and also obviously a little bit about United, Neville, etc. Lots of stuff around VAR. Get yourself over there. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Paul, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend.